Raising women's voices, one story at a time. Welcome to the She Said Project podcast. This is the She Said Project podcast. Welcome to our friends, our fans, our She Said sisters, our co-hosts, our co-hostesses.
Yep.
Carrie and Jeanette in the WILL studio in Urbana, Illinois, where we get to spend time with some really amazing women who have braved the microphone, as we are now. We are braving the microphone every time we get together.
That's right. There is no shortage in the world, in our community, and definitely in our She Said sister community of women braving the microphone and telling some pretty fantastic stories.
So we started here in Illinois, where you and I sit today. But in 2022, we really broke out of our home base, if you will. And we saw That's What She Said shows pop up in new cities. And one of the ones I'm really excited about is That's What She Said, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, because that was produced by a local junior league, the Junior League of Lehigh Valley. They saw That's What She Said as an opportunity to produce an event that empowered women, that could raise awareness for their organization and raise some money for the work that they do in their community. And I'm so honored. I actually did get to travel. As you know, Carrie, I'm from the East Coast. So I headed east. I grabbed my mom and my sister and I think my niece and my sister-in-law, and we went to see That's What She Said in Lehigh Valley. It was cool. It was very cool. And Kevin was there. Kevin, our master behind the scenes. And so we got to know these incredible women. So I'm excited for you to get to meet and get to know our guests today.
Well, the great part for me of not being part of being there, but also the behind the scenes of a show, is I got to see that show as anyone would. I didn't know the stories, hadn't edited them. And it was such a treat for me to get to hear them for the first time when they were literally facing down the microphone.
Yeah, and this one stood out to me. This story, our guest today, this one stood out as you love those stories where it's about that one nugget, that one moment in time where your whole perspective changes. We love when we find those magic moments, and this story is a perfect example of that.
Well, I love badass women, and this is definitely a badass woman, so get to it. Introduce
All
her.
right, I'm so excited to share with our audience today our guest all the way from Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, Angela Zanelli. Welcome to the She Said Project podcast.
Thank you both so much. It's so nice to be here. And that was a heck of an introduction. So I'm feeling a little bit of pressure here. But before we even get started, Jeanette and Carrie, I just wanted to let you know that since I saw you back in March when we did the show, I've actually had a last name change. I went back to my maiden name of Baio, going through a divorce right now, and it kind of plays in a little bit to the story I told. So happy to share more.
Well, welcome, Angela Baio. It's nice to get to re-know you. Do you want to share a little bit about the story of this rebirth and this renaming?
Sure. So at the time when the Junior League asked me to be part of the event, and I should also just shout out to the Junior League because they are a wonderful group of women in the Lehigh Valley. They're true leaders and volunteers and committed to service. And the event that we had there actually ended up raising some money for Lehigh Valley Reads, which is our third grade reading campaign that I lead. So I'm very grateful to them for doing the event. So when they asked me to do it, I had said to them, this is a great event. I'm so excited, you're doing something like this and to raise money for Lehigh Valley Reads. But you don't have to ask me to be part of it. Like I was like, I thought they were kind of like throwing me a bone, and they were like, oh no, you should do it. And I was like, well, all right. And then, getting back to the story, I had asked them, I was like, well, is there anything you want me to focus on? Like, what's kind of the guidelines? And they were just like, no, it's just really, the story that you want to tell. And at the time, I was just going through some personal, transition, coming out of a relationship, and I was thinking about just a lot of things about myself and kind of what got me to that point and what helped me to move on. And I wanted to tell an original story that was special to me. And to tell you the truth, the story that I told is kind of the laughing joke at every holiday dinner. And I thought, well, how cool would it be to take Angela's kind of laughing joke of the story and make it empowering for women. So that's kind of how it happened.
And that's exactly what you did. It very much felt like we were sitting around the dining room table and you're sharing, okay, here comes Angela telling the story of, when she was 3 years old again. But you did exactly that. You used it as an example that women can learn from today. And then you applied it to life and you applied it to the women in the audience, what their takeaways could be. Let's just play the audio clip of your performance so that nobody's left out, where we all know that moment that we're talking about, and then we can talk some more. To our friends listening today, let's get to know Angela Baio by hearing her holiday dinner story that she shared on stage in That's What She Said, Lehigh Valley in March of 2022, with her story titled How One Ballet Class Changed My Life.
This is probably one of the most vulnerable positions I've ever been in. So I wanted to do a little exercise here with you first to just kind of kick it off. And I just want you to take a really good look at me. Don't judge me too much because I'm exhausted. But, what I'm wearing, what I sound like, how I'm presenting to you. And I want you to make some assumptions. And I know some of you know me, but it doesn't matter. Make some assumptions, make some judgments about me. And then I want you to just tuck that away somewhere and we'll come back to it later. And now I'm going to tell you a story. Picture it. Brooklyn, 1981-ish. I'm 3 years old, right around 3 years old. And we lived in this tiny apartment. So tiny, tiny 2-bedroom apartment. And if I went into my bedroom at the time and stuck my arms out like this, I could reach both walls on either side. It's got like all the quintessential, like terrible, like late 70s stuff in it. It had like a brown refrigerator and like linoleum floor or whatever. But I just thought it was like, a castle. So my mom is a first-time mom. At the time, I'm an only child. She's in her mid-20s and she's just elated to have a little girl. So like the minute I like popped out and like took my first breath, I had like a dress on, I had like nail polish on my nails. I mean, it was like the whole thing. I had like really long, like longer than this, but just as thick and curly hair. And she used to brush it. Yeah, and it sounds exactly like it was. It was not pleasant. So the day finally comes, right? And I'm old enough to be enrolled in my first ballet class. And I'm going to tell you that I never asked to be in ballet. Nor do I think I ever did anything that would ever give my mother a clue that I wanted to be in ballet. But I didn't really know what was happening. I was super little. And so one day she gets everything together. She gets me, dressed. She gets the leotard, the tights, the shoes, my hair goes up and everything. And I'm sitting there like, all right, like, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I have no idea. And we go to the first ballet class, and I had no idea what to expect. And I was pretty outgoing as a little kid, but I have to say, like, at that time in like larger crowds, I was still a little shy. So here we are, and my mom walks in, and I open the door, and I walk into this classroom, and there are all these little girls flitting around in like tutus and like pink things, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I was like, oh my goodness. And I knew immediately that I really just didn't fit in there at all. And I didn't want to be there, and I kind of froze up. And I spent the entire class like this underneath my mother's chair. Seriously, like, I don't remember a lot of things from my childhood, but I remember this. So, we don't say anything, we go home. I don't know, I'm 3 again, so every day feels like a year, and like every month feels like, 5 years. So, we don't really talk about it, and then like the next week rolls around, and it's obviously time for ballet class again. So out comes all the accoutrement, the tights, the this, the that, and I'm like, I have to go back to the shit. And I'm like, no. So I didn't know. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna make me go back. So she's getting everything on me, and everything's just itchy, and I'm just, everything's on. And I remember standing there in the kitchen, and I'm like, I don't want to go. And she looked at me, and I saw just all the blood drained from her face. All the visions of a prima ballerina now had just gone right out the freaking window. And she turned to me, and she said, "You're going." And so at that moment, I basically did what any 3-year-old would do, and I started to throw a tantrum. And I was crying and screaming and carrying on, and nothing was working, and it probably went on for about 15 minutes. But again, in my head, that was like, it was going on for hours now. And so finally, I realized that there was only one way I was going to get out of going to that ballet class. So I stood there in the middle of the kitchen, and I peed. I pissed through everything. And I only had one of everything. And my mother looked at me. I've never told the story like this is. They said, "Tell a story, Angela." I'm like, all right. So she looked at me, and she screamed at me on the top of her lungs. But then she never, ever made me go to that damn ballet class again. So, I don't even know where the hell I am in these notes. I think I'm on I don't know. The end, just kidding. So you might be asking me, okay, Angela, this is great, it's funny and everything, but why the heck are you telling this story? And, what is so important about a girl peeing in her leotard? Well, I'm going to tell you. So it's the first time that this girl stood in her power. And it is the first time that I set a boundary. And it is the first time that I recognized discomfort, and I knew that I did not want to sit in it. As I continued to grow, actually, that's not true. So, well, kind of as I continue to grow. I wish that I could tell you that those 3 things, that was the attitude that stuck with me as I got older, but it's not. And as I grew, I recognized that I wasn't necessarily like the other girls. I liked to play with the boys at recess. I preferred pants over dresses. And my life was forever changed when my dad came home one day and bought me my first baseball glove. So, unlike the ballet attire that seemed to go over much better, and at some point my mom will watch this, so I do need to tell you that the whole ballet thing, it didn't turn me gay. That was a whole other story, so don't worry about it. It's fine. I can't. So as I got older, I realized that a lot of those things about myself weren't necessarily accepted, right? So society had certain norms, and I didn't necessarily fit into them, and they didn't fit the person that I was becoming. It made me feel self-conscious, and I'm pretty sure I had some major imposter syndrome going on, because I most definitely wasn't a boy, and I didn't want to be one, but I didn't necessarily fit in with most of the other girls either. And I'm pretty sure this played a role in my being shy, having a lack of confidence in myself, and a habit of setting poor boundaries just to make other folks happy. Decades later, as I sit here and reflect, I can now laugh about peeing in my leotard. But I'm also proud of that. That and the journey that has brought me here in front of you all today. with enough confidence to tell that story and to also admit that even after all this time, I'm really still not that confident. However, there are many things I've learned along the way, and I really did want to share them here. Never let someone's opinions define you. If someone makes you feel bad for setting a boundary, get rid of them because they most likely shouldn't be in your life anyway. Wear the clothes that make you feel beautiful, even if you do look like Joan Jett at 11:30 at night at Cedar Crest College. Sit with yourself, listen to yourself, and above all, love yourself often. So there are a lot of themes here. I asked you at the beginning of our time together to look at me and make some judgments. And you took a good look at me, and you probably already read about me before you got here. You might know me, you might have saw my bio in the playbill. And I'm sure you thought you really knew a lot of things about me. And that's okay, because we all do that. And there's no right or wrong answer to this exercise. But what I wanted to do was, I wanted to prove the point that as much as we think we know how someone feels and how someone presents and how someone experienced life, we don't. The human experience is so special, but it's different for all of us. In this life, we spend so much time focused on the past, the future, and the people and the things around us, that we lose who we are and why we are. So if I have to leave you with one thing this evening, it's the request to truly know and love yourself. And for God's sake, don't be afraid to speak your damn truth. Because it's your truth, and no one can take that away from you. So be right here and right now, in the present moment. Be still with yourself. Take a moment to listen to your breath. Make a list about what you love about yourself. Now, this might seem light years away from the little girl in her leotard, but it's really not. That little girl knew who she was, what she liked, and told her mother exactly how she felt. And that, my friends, is the truest, most authentic human experience. Thank you.
Angela, what I love about you and the story you shared on stage is that you have known who you were from a very young age. Would you agree?
Yes. And I knew in that very moment. I think I've had to remind myself of who I am over time and over the years, but that was the earliest memory I have of just knowing what I wanted in that very moment.
I love those, as Jeanette said, those little nuggets, those moments. Looking back, that you can recognize it, that in that moment you literally took a stand and took a whiz, whatever. But you knew. And I love that, this little person already knew, like, I am going to stand my ground here. I know what I want and don't want.
And I also had to figure out how to do it, because I was so tiny. And I mean, it sounds silly, but in my brain, that was the smartest way out of the situation. And I guess it worked.
Well, it's good practice. In my day job, early childhood development is a passion of mine. And I always say you don't learn how to deal with adversity or how to express yourself if you aren't ever in those situations. And so you just trade up. That moment was your first practice, or maybe it was your 10th practice, but that's the one that stands out in your mind. And it's so great that you had that moment and then yep, did it. And now going to do it again. And then here you are still doing it.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's those little moments that fuel you to be able to even stand up on stage and do something like that, because I was so nervous. And Jeanette, I don't know if you remember this, but before I went on, we were kind of in the VIP area, and I had told you, I was like, hey, I want to be on your podcast.
Hi, here you are.
At me like I had 3 heads. Yeah. So I'm glad I'm here.
I'm glad you're here too. Your story is worth sharing with a larger audience, and that's what we try to do here. And get the word out. Get the word out that, women can be anything that they want to be, even when they're 3 years old and they know what they know. But wouldn't it be amazing if we all knew what we knew and stood up for it?
Yeah, and not only knowing what we know on standing up, but also supporting the people around us to do the same. I think you all referred to this as kind of a sisterhood, and I truly believe that the more women empower each other, the better off we'll all be.
Oh, I agree. I think there's something pretty special about the sort of leading the way or giving permission. I was in another show once, and a friend of mine who knew I was super nervous, when she got done with her piece, she turned around and she winked at me. And in my mind, at least, it was like, you got this. You're going to kill it. It was just that little thing, that nod from another woman. And I think that's what all of these pieces are to women who are watching, listening, people you tell about it. It's that little wink of, you've got this.
Yeah, I agree. And I also thought being up there, like the experience itself, that's what it was like for me. Everybody was super supportive, whether we were sitting back in the green room or out at the reception, and the audience was clapping and nodding, and it was just a really nice environment to be in. It was very welcoming and just very supportive.
That seems to be what happens when we create each She Said show. Like, it is the intention, and we go about it very purposefully. But women at the heart, when you create that safe space and you just allow women to be seen and be heard, there is nothing like it. We try to explain to our friends what a That's What She Said show is like. But if you've never actually been there, yes, watch the videos. It's awesome. These stories are awesome. But there's something so palpable about the energy in the room when women come together and you're cheering each other on just for being who you already are, or just for being the woman you turned into after making that stand at 3 years old in a tutu on your kitchen floor. You refer to yourself as like Joan Jett, and you dress to be your most beautiful. And that's what we tell women who are coming on the stage too. They ask us, what should we wear? What should we wear? And we always say, you need to dress to be your most beautiful. What makes you feel beautiful to walk on a stage? Some women come in cocktail dresses and gowns, and some women come in ripped jeans because that is their form of beautiful. And who are we to say otherwise?
I think that's 100% true. It's exactly how I felt. And it is part of just living, our authentic lives. And I know I spoke about speaking your truth, but you don't only speak your truth with words. You speak your truth with body language and the clothes we wear and how we present ourselves. So to me, that was a big deal, to be able just to be comfortable up there. And I really appreciated that.
What was the feedback you got?
I got a lot of great feedback. I still have people walk up to me. I go to a lot of community events. I do a lot of relationship building and community outreach in my, my everyday work. And I've had people pull me aside at a gala event to tell me that they were at the event and how wonderful my story was. I mean, so flattering, and again, so supportive. I actually had somebody tell me that they reference peeing in their tutu now as a feeling. So it's I honestly,
I don't want to do this. I'm going to stand here in my power and pee in my tutu.
Don't make me pee in my tutu. Don't make me do it.
Yeah, don't make me. Yeah, I feel like peeing in my tutu was now this way she described how she felt.
Oh, we can start a movement here. This could be a thing.
I don't know about a movement, but I think a hashtag would definitely work.
It's fabulous. I love that.
Hashtag pee in your tutu. Now, you referenced your daughters who were in the audience. Am I right?
Yes.
Tell us about them and your relationship and how it felt to be standing up there with them watching you.
They were not happy about coming in the first place. And they're teenagers, and they had to run from another. They had a practice they were at, and they ran. My sister picked them up, and they were tired and hungry, and so the event went kind of late, and I wasn't exactly sure how they were gonna react. Would they be happy or would they be embarrassed? I wasn't sure because I didn't tell anybody what my story was before I got up there. So even my friends and family that were there had no idea what I was going to talk about. And afterwards, I got the biggest hugs and the I am proud of you moms. And that actually meant more than anything else. And I should mention they're teenagers, 16 and 13. So this is an age where it's hit or miss. And I was happy that they saw me go up there so that they know that they can do that too.
That's amazing. My kids weren't old enough to come in the first couple years that we did it. And the first time that they came, boy, did it feel different knowing that my girls were in the audience. And then listening to their feedback was so interesting, the ways that were similar to how I felt and then the ways that were different and the different perspectives. And it was really something to have my own girls out there.
I love what you said also, that you're showing them what it looks like to stand in your power, to stand and share those awkward moments, those embarrassing moments. But what you did is you made everybody laugh. And when you make people laugh with you, there's this bond and this connection right away. And I'm so happy that you got to share that moment with them. That's pretty powerful. I look forward to that moment. My children are in the pre-tween stages, and so they've not yet been invited to a show, but they know what mommy does, and they know one day they're going to get to check it out. This has been fabulous to catch up with you and hear stories from the She Said Vault from other communities when we weren't part of the original process. So it's new for us. It's vulnerable for us. We're so excited to hear that it's working, that sharing the stories translates into other communities. It translates into other audiences, even when we just get to sit back and watch and enjoy from this other vantage point. So thank you for saying yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't know how many stories you have in your vault, but I would bet that because everybody has their own, unique life experience, that each one is different and everybody brings something different to the table.
Yep.
I actually counted, including the 2023 cast and all of our virtual shows, 178 women.
Wow.
Stories as of February 2023. So we'll be over 200 very quickly in 2023. Well, Angela, thanks for finding time to join us on the She Said Project podcast, where we strive to share these awesome stories with more women across the country and around the world, empowering women one story at a time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you for having me.
And over and out.
Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast in partnership with Illinois Public Media. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project and That's What She Said, LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com. This podcast was made possible with support from Carl and Health Alliance and presented by Sterling Wealth Management, empowering women to live their best lives. That was such a beautiful conversation.